Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. What's up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Thursday to you all. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. Appreciate you tuning in and making us a part of your start if you are already up and at it, whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online, stream it up at sportstalk1051.com, WAYYradio.com. Got your app, download it, take it on the go. Got the video stream also up and rolling on YouTube, Man Cave TV. Your Alexa and Google devices, got that over there too. So multiple different ways for you to be tuning in here this morning. What do we have on our game plan this morning? We got a busy game plan here. Get the brooms out as the Crew sweeping the Cubbies last night. A 5-0 victory for the Brew Crew, led behind an absolutely stellar performance from Kyle Harrison, going 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 11 Ks for the young pitcher, improving to 5-1 and lowering his season ERA to a 1.77. How do you follow up an epic performance from Jacob Mizorowski? Kyle Harrison just did that yesterday. So Brewers improving to a 29-18 on the season, in first place in the division and sweeping the Cubbies in Wrigley Field for the first time since 2021. Lots to recap from this series, yesterday's game and such. Got the off day today for the Brewers before returning home for a big series against the Dodgers this weekend. But this was from Kurt Hogg. Here's a couple of nuggets about the Brewers and Kyle Harrison and such. Kurt Hogg, who covers the Brewers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, only pitcher with a lower ERA than Kyle Harrison through his first 9 starts with the Brewers is CC Sabathia, who had a 1.60 ERA with 5 complete games and 2 shutouts in 2008. That's pretty darn good company right now for Kyle Harrison. But the Brewers, with that sweep, Bob Nightingale had posted combined score of 19-5, outscoring the Cubbies, served a subtle reminder that the NL Central title still goes through Milwaukee. So lots, again, to chat and recap about this series and last night's game and such. You had David Hamilton with the Little League home run, with a lazy play by Pete Carroll Armstrong last night, and then David Hamilton with a triple as well. So, I mean, the Red Sox acquisitions of Hamilton and Kyle Harrison and Shane Drowan, they were the Cubs' worst nightmare this series. So we'll see if the Brewers can continue to keep on this hot streak as they welcome the Dodgers here starting tomorrow. Also on the docket here this morning, it is a little takeover Thursday. So if you've got a topic in mind, send it on over. All right, text us on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or you can join us on the Section 105 chat on YouTube. Also, we're going to, on our usual Thursday, catch up with Jake Boakes at 8 Thursday for our Tailgate Outdoors segment. So if you have a question for our DNR Warden buddy, please text them on over so we can get those over to him. And then after that, as we kick off the Eau Claire Express season, usually we'll chat with them on Mondays, but with Monday being Memorial Day, we're going to catch up with them today at 9 o'clock, and we'll chat with owner Craig Toyson as we get set for the Eau Claire Express season, which begins next week, early next week, Monday. So it's coming right around the corner here. So get ready for some even more baseball at Carson Park. We've had baseball at Carson Park between high school and Chippewa River Baseball League and such, but the Express will return to the field coming up on Monday. So Craig will be joining us around 9 o'clock here this morning. Also, it is a Enough is Enough Thursday. What's the sports narrative? What's the sports take? What's the sports story out there where you're just like, enough is enough? Send those on over to us as well. One question I kind of want to throw out is maybe an informal poll question, feedback sort of thing. So yesterday, Aaron Charles Rodgers saying that this is, in fact, going to be his final year in the NFL. So you get a little bit of a farewell tour here. He talked to the media yesterday. I want to ask you, Packers fans, with knowing that this is Rodgers' final year of playing in the NFL, are you maybe more likely maybe going to tune in a little bit more or follow the Steelers or Rodgers a little bit more this year just because it is Rodgers' final year? Or does it really not matter to you? What say you? All right, I'm kind of curious to get a gauge from Packers fans and such. So let me know or let us know. All right, send those on over too. And in terms of playoffs going on, the Thunder last night in the NBA playoffs, they evened up that series with a 122-113 victory. And then in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Vegas Golden Knights taking down Colorado 4-2 to take a 1-0 lead in that series. So that's kind of your game plan for us this morning. Lots of baseball talk, lots of Brewers talk here this morning, coming off of a series sweep against the Chicago Cubs. And that's where we're going to lead things off here this morning. So we'll take our first break, and then we'll get started here with the leadoff, talk a little Kyle Harrison and his epic performance from last night, this overall series from the Brewers, who are now 29-18 on the season. When you take a look at where things are at in this loaded NL Central, the Brewers holding on to a 1.5-game lead over the Cardinals and the Cubs, but a ton of games left to be played yet this season. But no question about it, right now the Brewers are playing some really good baseball, and they're playing against some really good competition and winning these ball games too. So let's talk some Brewers. Let's talk some baseball as we open up things here this morning. We'll take our first break. We got intern Carter joining us, and we'll get the leadoff. We'll get going with the leadoff coming up after these quick words. Whether you are chasing a championship or you're just trying to stay active, your body deserves the best care. And at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, they help athletes and non-athletes alike get back to doing what they love. From sports injuries and joint pain to everyday aches, their expert team is here with personalized care every step of the way. So no matter your level of activity, you do not have to sit on the sidelines. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better, to feel better, and to live better. Let's say good morning to good morning to our graduates, Mr. Intern Carter. How are you, sir?
Pretty good.
Yeah. How was the party? I got something for you coming. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you.
It was long. A lot of people.
Yeah. I suppose.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Did you get kicked out of the house now that you're done with high school yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
All right. So, ready to talk a little Brewers this morning, dude?
That was a fun series.
Yeah. Fly the L, baby. Fly the L. Fly the loss tag. I'm going to start it off with my enough is enough. When is enough about, because I saw somebody on MLB Network, and I'm blanking on a name right now. When do we stop saying, like, the Brewers are a fun story? When's enough is enough that we just kind of say, this is the standard? That every year the standard is to be a playoff team, to win division championships? Because I still feel maybe it's more of a national thing, but maybe that's where it's got to change. When does that narrative stop that, the Brewers are doing it again? When does that just become the standard with this team?
Yeah, I think it should have stopped already, and I think year in and year out, it's weird that we get overlooked so much by just the MLB, but I think it's also the identity of this team, where Pat Murphy is the manager that's going to tell his guys that they are being overlooked, and that's why they're winning games. So you almost need to have the expectation to win games, but you can't lose that mentality of, everyone's still looking down on you.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it too is they're doing it in ways you're not supposed to be doing it, right? That's not the way you're supposed to do it in baseball. You're supposed to do it, with high-priced talent or home runs and, veterans. I mean, they've got these young guys that are contributing and such. And I know, Pat Murphy still likes to say we got a bunch of nobodies and such. But, all right, if that's the case, and I do think from a national perspective, that there's a lot of people who probably can't name a lot of Brewers outside of maybe Jacob Mizorowski and Christian Yelich and Jackson Chourio. And I think Bryce Terang would be up there, and I would think Contreras would be up there and such. But I think, enough's enough with this, and that's maybe more so from a fan base, from a Brewers fan base. Should this just be the expectation? Kind of, I don't want to make a direct comparison, but kind of we have that with Green Bay, right? Like the expectation every year is to be a playoff team and to compete for championships. I get that the Brewers haven't won a championship yet, which is different from Green Bay in that essence, but why can't we have that same expectation?
I do think it's just a little different because of how much money the Cubs spend compared to the Brewers, and their roster just on paper comparatively, because baseball's roster changes so much. And every year the Brewers lose their best player. But you're right. I mean, year in, year out, we win games, and we're competing for the Central. So eventually it just needs to become the standard. Yeah.
It's almost kind of, I compare the Brewers and Tampa Bay somewhat. Now, the difference is Tampa Bay's actually been to, a World Series and a couple World Series and such. But even like Tampa Bay this year so far, when we were looking at the AL East, it was Yankees. Toronto was in the World Series last year. Everybody thought Boston was going to be better. Everybody thought Baltimore was going to be a contender because they bring in Pete Alonso and some stuff, and just kind of overlooked Tampa Bay again. And you look at who's first in that division by 4 games, it's the Tampa Bay Rays again. And they go about it very similar to the Brewers in terms of payroll and such. But I you just go back, large sample size between the Brewers. We mentioned CC Sabathia in a comparison to Kyle Harrison. You go back to 08 and that. I think that's, for me, I got to do a better job, I think, from it as a fan, too, is maybe this is the standard going forward, is that every year, bare minimum, it should be playoffs for this team. Bare minimum. And you hope to be put in a position that you are going to compete for championships. And I get that, that is one of the biggest questions surrounding this Brewers team, and it has been for the last few years. Does the model work in the postseason? They win a lot of regular season games, but does the model work in the postseason? And so far, they haven't gotten over that hump to get to a World Series. They've gotten to league championships, but they haven't been able to get over that hurdle.
And that's good. I mean, they can't hit home runs, and that's what wins in the postseason. But I think as a regular season team, the expectation should be playoffs every year. And again, you don't want to lose the underdog mentality. That this Brewers team shouldn't, because they are, on paper, not as good of a team as a lot of teams, but they just keep winning. So, right, as fans, it's like at some point you're supposed to win.
Yeah, and I think, that's the other part, too, that could help this Brewers team continue, is if they keep that underdog mentality. And I think as long as they build the way that they do, with the smaller payroll and such, it's just going to kind of inadvertently always be there, right? I mean, you look at the top payrolls, it is the Phillies, it is the Yankees, it is the Mets, it is, the Dodgers and the Cubs and all those guys. So if you're going to be consistently like top or bottom 5, bottom 10 in payroll, I think you're going to always kind of have that title of underdog, right? Because you don't have some of the highest paid players and such. And even so with this payroll, that's with Yelich's decent contract. Jackson Chourio, has that extension. Now they got Cooper Pratt kind of locked up, who's not even on the major league roster yet. So it's, I was thinking about it after the game last night, and I saw that, that quote from MLB Network. I'm like, I think it's a good point. Like, I think it's more from a national sense because I think before the beginning of the season, we were doing predictions and such. A lot of Brewers fans were like, yeah, everybody's overlooking Brewers again. And I think it's more from a national side of things that they just continue to overlook them. And it's because they don't do it the way that you're supposed to. You're supposed to go out there and sign big free agents. And I think it's more of an unsure thing when they bring in, like this year, a lot of younger, unproven players. Nobody predicted Kyle Harrison to be doing what he's doing right now. Jacob Mizorowski, I think, is even pitching better than what people expected heading into year two. And then you got Bryce Terang, who is taking another step, this year from an offensive standpoint. You're getting production from this bullpen of different, like a Chad Patrick or Shane Drowan and Brand, all these guys. Everybody else from a national side will pick what's almost a for sure thing. Well, we know more of the players on the Cubs. We know these players, they're veterans and such. They don't want to pick a team that they don't know anything about. And now, Brewers knew exactly what they probably had. They put a lot of confidence and empowered a lot of these youngsters, and we're seeing the fruits of their labor, at least in the early parts of this season.
And again, they traded Peralta, right? They traded Durbin, and they still have struggled to score runs this year. To start, they've been better recently, but they've just, again, like you said, the pitching staff has just been so good. Anchored down by, obviously everybody predicted Aaron Ashby and Shane Drowan were going to be the best relievers in baseball, but it's interesting because this isn't really how they won last year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was a lot of runs early in the year, didn't rely on pitching as much, where this year they're relying on pitching a lot early and not scoring a lot of runs, but at the same time, they're winning a lot right now.
Well, they're top 10 and like 7 right now in runs scored, but they're dead last in home runs, which is the weird thing about this. Because if you look at, so Washington, Atlanta, Dodgers, Yankees, Chicago, Pirates, top 6 in runs. And then when you go to home runs, it's Yankees, Atlanta, White Sox, Dodgers, Reds, Phillies, Nationals are on there. So it's interesting to see that how do I want to say this? Complete opposite end of the spectrum, right? They're dead last. They've only hit 33 home runs. Kyle Schwarber's already got 20 for crying out loud. It's the Yankees have 73. They've got 40 more home runs than what the Brewers have this year. And it's small ball. Again, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to bunt. You're not supposed to move runners over because analytics, right? That's that whole thing. And they're just brought in a little bit of an old school mentality to this thing.
And they just took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. So
yeah, exactly.
Tells you something. But that's why David Hamilton fits perfectly on this team. That's why Ortiz can stay at shortstop, is because they'll do the little things that this team needs. We didn't have a ton of hits yesterday, but Hamilton went 3 for 4. And in a day where, in a year where our bottom of the lineup has not delivered, all you need is one game and one win. And you got it last night.
Yep. Yeah. The triple, the Little League home run. Every Little League coach should play a clip of Pete Crow Armstrong and just, after the game he said, it wasn't a lack of effort. It looked like it. Mm-hmm. It sure looked like. And then even like just kind of initially jogging back to go get it. It's like wrong person to do that to with David Hamilton running the bases and such. So, but I love Little League home runs and that. But no, I know there's going to be, people kind of poo-pooing on this and saying it's still May. Here's the thing though. Sports is such a wave of emotions, especially baseball with 162 games. More times than not, as a sports fan, you're probably going to be disappointed because there's only one team that wins it all at the end. So when you have good moments and you're going through good stretches, embrace it and enjoy it. And that's exactly what the Brewers are doing right now. Because there's probably going to be streaks where they're going to be a little bit down, right? That odds are it's going to be the case. And they're coming off of a sweep of the Yankees, sweep of the Cubs, literally inches away from sweeping the Padres. They took 2 out of 3 against the Twinnies. They've got the Dodgers coming to town, and the Brewers are playing some great baseball right now. Don't apologize for being pumped about your Brewers team, even though it is just May 21st.
And I think it's like how they're winning almost. Like, again, you said it, the Cubs. I mean, whenever we beat the Cubs, I'll be happy. But Jacob Misiorowski has dominated at a pace we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun to watch. I mean, Kyle Harrison with him makes up one of the best 1-2 punches in the MLB right now.
Yeah.
And again, this team, even though they don't hit home runs, they're still a fun offensive team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So on a day-to-day basis, I watch the Brewers, whereas it's hard to watch the Yankees or the Dodgers, I bet, sometimes, because they're so reliant on the home run ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what Kyle Harrison, I mean, that acquisition of him, and again, I get it, it's still early in his career, but we're going to look at this trade, even with Shane Drouin, who has been awesome coming out of the pen, too. Heck, Hamilton now, even just bunting, if he gets on, he turns that almost into a double. Not many players can turn a bunt into a double because of his threat to steal. I'm curious in a couple years, looking back at this trade and seeing where everything's at still. Like if Kyle Harrison is going to be a premier pitcher, and I know I'm not ready to say that, but if he's going to be between him and Misiorowski, one of the top duos in Major League Baseball for the next few years, what the heck were the Red Sox or even the Giants thinking, moving on from this guy? And again, I think it's another feather in the cap and a tip of the cap to Chris Hook, Jim Henderson, and that entire pitching group that the Brewers have.
I think it's funny because if you would have just straight swapped David Hamilton for Caleb Durbin, you'd be winning the trade right now.
That's true. When you look at numbers and that, yeah.
How bad Durbin's been, and David Hamilton's not been great, but he's been average. Mm-hmm. And then you add in a number 2 starting pitcher and a second best relief arm, they've straight up fleeced the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100% right now. It's amazing, and I love how quick Kyle Harrison moves. It's to go from Misiorowski, and it's not to say that Kyle Harrison has a slow fastball. It's just when you go from like 102, 103 to 96, 97, there's a little bit of a difference there, and just how quick he goes about things and his movement. He is such a fun pitcher to watch out there on the mound, and for a younger guy. And that's where yesterday I was kind of talking. I was curious to see how he was going to handle the moment at Wrigley Field. Your team has a chance to sweep your division rival and stay in first place. Pressure was probably there because you knew the Cubs would probably want to come out a little bit more aggressive and such. Dude didn't look like it. And I think part of it, too, is the fact that you have a guy like Contreras back there that can handle that young pitching staff is so invaluable to this team.
And, I mean, the length you're getting out of the starters.
Yeah.
We have several arms in the bullpen who can go multiple innings. But right now, like, Misiorowski's throwing 6 or 7 innings every time. Harrison's throwing 6 or 7 innings every time. And they just continue to dominate. It's incredible to watch.
And this bullpen right now is so fresh, I would imagine. I mean, D.L. Hall was the only guy that came out of the pen last night, and he pitched 2 innings. This bullpen has got to be, and then you have the off day today, all hands on deck for this Dodger series, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And to be able to say that and look at last year, just from a compare, like how much a year difference makes. I think it was at this point last year, we're like, man, this pitching staff, the bullpen starters, they're getting used a lot. There's a lot of wear and tear on this thing. This was a good series. I know he had a little bit of a hiccup, but, maybe take a step back from Aaron Ashby to rest up a little bit and some of these guys. It's not when you go into Wrigley Field and you're going up against the Cubs team with that offense and you've barely used your bullpen besides maybe one game with even Chad Patrick only pitched like a third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning, and you sweep them, you've had yourself a good day at the ballpark or a good series at the ballpark. You know what I love to see too in Major League Baseball? Look at the standings. And again, I know it's May 21st, especially in the AL. Tampa Bay, first place. Cleveland, first place. A's, first place. 3 teams that are towards the bottom in MLB payrolls. And then you look at the NL, Brewers, first place. But then you have the Braves and Dodgers. But still, 4 of the 6 division leaders right now on May 21st are towards like the bottom 10 in payroll in Major League Baseball. I love it. I love seeing that. But that is going to be, I will say this, if that plays out for the rest of the year, if that plays out the rest of the year, that is going to be the worst argument for having a salary cap in baseball. Mm-hmm. Because those teams, those high-paid teams will say, well, look at, Tampa Bay won the division, Cleveland won the division, the Athletics and the Brewers, 4 of the 6 division champs are all towards the bottom in payroll. So where's that balance?
I think the Brewers kind of provided the blueprint a little bit for these teams where, the Guardians just traded for an all-star catcher.
Yep.
So they've got their Contreras who can call pitches, who can get outs. And, again, like you said, they're all in first place, so it's got to be working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I remember watching a Sunday Night Baseball game last year with the Cardinals on there, and they had I think it was the Cardinals GM, and he name-dropped the Brewers and said, we got to kind of emulate them. Well, I think this year they're doing better than what they expected, to begin the year. But the Cardinals have a little bit more money to spend too than the Brewers do. So, but all right, we got to take a quick break. One question I did throw out there. We'll get to this probably in the next hour because we got lots of baseball talk here. With Aaron Rodgers announcing yesterday that this will be his final year, Packers fans, are you going to maybe pay attention to some more Steelers games this year just to see the final run of Aaron Rodgers? A surveyor says, similar to Brady's final years, I'm going to try and watch as much Steelers football as I can. No matter how you feel about Rodgers the person, you have to admit he is arguably one of the top 5 quarterbacks to ever play the game, and by far and away the greatest thrower of the football. It's also the end of an era. So long are the old boys, Roethlisberger, Brees, Brady, Manning, Rivers, and now Rodgers. It's the end of a chapter in the story of the NFL of what can be considered the era of the quarterback. Rando says, Rodgers, I'll watch a little more just to see how good of a season he is having, unless something happens to the Pack with injuries. So, and then C-Bomb on the video chat early this morning saying, awesome sweep. All right, let's take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Summer is almost here, and that means it is time to hit the road in something that you love. And at Toyson Ford, you will find a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles ready for every adventure. Looking for power, comfort, reliability? Hey, they've got it all backed by a team that's committed to making your car buying experience easy and stress-free. So whether it's a weekend getaway or your daily drive, make sure you are riding in style this summer. Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls, where your next journey begins. All right. Continuing to talk some more baseball. Brew Crew after the Crew sweeping the Chicago Cubs yesterday. Should the narrative be changed? Should the expectations be changed when it comes to this Brew Crew? I know it's just it's a little bit of a recency thing and such, but should we expect every year that this is Brewers, the expectation should be playoffs. The goal should be playoffs. The bare minimum should be playoffs every single year. Rando says, I'm now expecting the Brewers to get to the playoffs every year. They could take analytics and stick it where the sun don't shine. I feel the Brewers can win in the playoffs if their pitchers keep pitching the way they are. So we talk about, the Brewers don't hit home runs. They don't. They don't. And we talk about, is that one of the biggest recipes for success when it comes to the postseason? But what about, so say the Brewers face the Dodgers in the postseason or these top home run hitting teams in that. What do the Brewers do really well when it comes to home runs? They don't allow a lot of them either. They're when you look at their pitching staff, and we kind of saw that against, the Yankees in that series, right? Though Judge did hit that one, which I was okay with because then my kid got to see it. But from a pitching standpoint, you look at the amount of home runs that this team has given up. They've only given up 35 home runs. Now, to counter that, the Yankees are next to them too at 39. So the Yankees hit a ton of home runs, but they don't give up a ton of home runs too. But that's the American League. We don't have to worry about that, right? So that, to me, if this is a trend that continues throughout this season, and let's say we get to the postseason, And the Brewers are dead last in hitting home runs, but they are tops in not allowing home runs. That's going to be kind of an interesting thing to see how it plays out in the postseason.
It definitely will be. I will say, just looking at their stats a little bit, they were pretty low last year going into the postseason, and I feel like on paper they had a better team last year, and then they got swept by the Dodgers. Now, of course, you have Mizorowski pitching at an incredible rate right now. So if he and Harrison can just continue what they're doing, it'll be an excellent series to watch if they do get to face the Dodgers. But I think teams like the Dodgers and teams like the Yankees, I see it especially in the Dodgers. They're going to play hard in the regular season, but they really don't care.
They're the Spurs back in the day where the Spurs kind of coasted through the regular season with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and then it's like they turned it on in the postseason.
And I think you saw that last year where the Brewers swept them 2 series in a row. They went 6-0 against the Dodgers last year, and then we got to the playoffs and we got swept by them. Didn't even get a win, and it wasn't really that close. And so I don't necessarily think that it's going to be any different this year. Necessarily. It might be a little early. I'm going to throw this out there. When we look at the pitching staff as a group for the Brewers compared to last year, what's the differences here? No Freddie Peralta. You take Freddie Peralta off. You got Kyle Harrison on here. No Jose Quintana. Jose was on the roster last year. No Jose this year. And you look at even the bullpen and such. Let's assume Brandon Woodruff's healthy when he comes back. Do you have more confidence with this pitching group than you did last year compared to last year's pitching group? You still got McGill, Uribe at the back end. Let's assume Chad Patrick's going to be more in the bullpen like he was in the postseason last year. You got Shane Druin. You got Brandon Sproat mixed in there. Maybe Logan Henderson, Coleman Crowe, who we've seen a couple more times now too. So looking at this group compared to I'm not counting Quinn Priester for this year because I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a contributor at all at this point. I honestly, my arrow kind of moves towards I might like the pitching this year a little bit better. As of right now, I think so, just because of what Mizorowski's done. I mean, he's a top 3 pitcher in the NL and a top 5 pitcher in the MLB. So, and then you had Kyle Harrison on top of that. He's really good. And I think this may be a hot take, but what Brandon Sproat's giving you is a lot of what you got from Peralta last year. 4 or 5 innings, 2 or 3 runs.
Yeah.
And he's your 3rd or 4th starter. And so when you couple that with your top 2 starters, that's a rotation that's going to play, especially in the postseason.
When you throw in Mizorowski, Kyle Harrison, and let's assume, and I know for some it might be a big assumption, when Brandon Woodruff comes back, Brandon Woodruff will be just Brandon Woodruff. You throw those 3 in there. Let's throw Logan Henderson as the 4th starter, and then Brandon Sproat. And with Brandon Sproat and Logan Henderson, I like the example that Pat Murphy kind of used earlier in the week. It's kind of like A-ball, where you have a little bit of a tandem with the younger pitchers, with Sproat and then Chad Patrick comes in, or Logan Henderson, then Chad Patrick. That'll play. And then you look at, like an Aaron Ashby, a DL Hall. Whenever Jared Koenig does come back and such, your bullpen are guys that can go 2, 3, 4 innings, which is really unique that not a lot of bullpens have that. And then you have 2 legit closers with Trevor McGill and Abner Uribe.
Yeah. And I do think that is big for this team, the ability to have relievers who can go link the innings, because you saw Brandon Sproat struggle to start early in this year, and Ashby and Hall were able to pick him up. And you also have Patrick in the bullpen who can go far, but if Sproat or even Harrison or Mizorowski get in a tough spot in the postseason, you can throw one of those guys and be confident because Patrick was one of your best postseason pitchers last year.
Yep.
Ashby's one of your best pitchers this year. So you can have the confidence that they're going to go shut the team down.
And, if one of the issues is for those younger pitchers is that 3rd time through that rotation, you don't have to put them through that. They can go through it a couple times and then you go to the bullpen and hand the ball off to a guy that can give you multiple innings. What Chad Patrick did last weekend against the Twins, for his first career save. Yeah. I mean, how many other ball clubs out there right now, even, you can throw 2 pitchers in a game, and that's it. Is that the new complete game in Major League Baseball, is 2 pitchers? You said that, I kind of tongue-in-cheek, but, I mean, complete games are becoming more rare and rare. It's like, oh, maybe it's the 2-pitcher complete game at this point. So,
and then the first game against the Cubs, Sproat and Drowan.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right? So it's a really fun ball club to watch at this point. Like Jake Bauers, you got to keep that guy in the lineup.
Yes.
You may suffer a little bit defensively, but he is giving you hits and he is producing. You got to keep him in that line. Maybe it's by, no accident, but when Cheerio and Vaughn and Yelich all came back, it's like everything just kind of settled down a little bit. And everything's like, okay, we got everybody back. We can relax a little bit, go out there and play baseball. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's by accident or not, but you can look at that parallels and see when those guys returned, everything just kind of settled down a little bit.
And I think they are producing at the plate, Cheerio and Vaughn and Yelich, but I think more of it is they're just protecting players now. Mm-hmm. Because before, I mean, you can walk Bryce Terang because You've got Joey Ortiz coming up or Rengifo coming up. I mean, 1-4 we were good, 5-9 we weren't. And then now you get Cheerio and Yelich and Vaughn back, and now 1-7 you're good, and 7-9 you're not, but you're protecting some of those players to where now they're going to see a challenge fastball.
If your top 6 are Cheerio, Terang, Contreras, Yelich, Vaughn, Bauers, I'm good with those top 6.
Yeah. And Sal Frelick's down at the end, and I'm still fine with Sal Frelick.
Yep.
So I think that makes a talented roster.
Yep, I would agree. And then, when Hamilton is in there, he's not going to, get you a whole lot, but he is a threat to get on, even if it is by the bunt, which I'm still a little surprised more teams aren't playing that when he's up there. I don't know. But all right, we got to take a really quick break because we're a little bit behind here, but continue to send us your thoughts on the Brew Crew and such. We'll be right back after these quick words. With Memorial Day weekend upon us, if you've got some maybe backyard barbecues or get-togethers going, don't forget to get your supplies at our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Heck, they even got Pork Palooza going on. We're talking some bacon. We're talking some Midwest, Hy-Vee Midwest pork top loin chops, 10 for $10 on there. Heck yeah, man. So sausage, maybe make your own pizzas and such. They got pepperoni on sale, ham, all that good stuff there. So don't forget to always follow the Hy-Vee Facebook page because they've got their flyers up there, their 1-day sales, their 3-day sales that are going on, including their Memorial Day deals with a bunch of different stuff on their flyer. We're talking about even like salsa on sale. That's big in our house. Some trays, some food trays, if you're having some get-togethers and that. And it always helps out too at the pump. At the pump, you can save with some fuel perks too by shopping at Hy-Vee and then going to the Hy-Vee gas station right next to the store. Big thanks to Hy-Vee for letting us do the program there yesterday as they were doing their free breakfast for veterans and active military members. So it was a lot of fun yesterday, and thanks to a lot of you for stopping by and saying hi as well. So again, big thanks to Hy-Vee for doing that for all of our veterans and active military members. We just got a few minutes left until the top of the hour, so I am going to throw out one of our Takeover Thursday questions that we got from a listener named Garrett. And this is an interesting one, and I really want feedback from everybody on this. With, we were talking about pitching, right? And, Bizarowski going deep, Kyle Harrison even yesterday had too. I never thought of this before. And this actually came yesterday. And I'm like, I'm going to use that for today because that's a great Takeover Thursday question. With ABS, now in Major League Baseball, the automatic ball strike challenge system, are we ever going to see a perfect game anymore? With the challenges that are now out there, has that almost, I don't want to say 100%, but is it almost eliminated the possibility of a perfect game in Major League Baseball? So think about that for a little bit. Think about that. I thought it was a really interesting question, and I never thought of that. So your thoughts, hit us up, text it, send us a message, whatever you want to do. But that's one of our Takeover Thursday questions thrown out there. So also next hour, a few of you have already chimed in on this. Aaron Rodgers, I know he's with the Steelers. He's not with the Packers, but obviously he is a Packer, legendary Packer. He's going to have his name up on the facade, his number retired, and all that. He said yesterday this is his final year. This will be his final year of playing in the NFL. So with that being said, you as Packers fans, will you be maybe kind of just paying just a little bit more attention to the Steelers this year, paying a little bit more attention to Rodgers this year, knowing that this is his final year, knowing that he is done? And maybe for some of you, you're like, I don't believe him yet. It could be a little bit of that. But will you be paying attention just a little bit more, knowing that this is the final year for Rodgers? Yes or no? A lot of you already saying, yes, you are. But for those who have not chimed in yet, send it on over, okay? All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off in a minute. Continue to send us your Brewers thoughts. Brewers sweeping the Cubbies of Chicago. Brewers back in first place in the division, I should say, expanding their lead a little bit in the division. But off day today, a well-deserved off day for the Brewers as they get set to host the Dodgers in a 3-game series starting tomorrow, and then they got the Cardinals right after that too. So tough opponents continuing here for the Crew, but they've been winning these tough games here too. So we'll talk plenty more baseball coming up. We'll throw a little bit of that football chat in there. Send your questions in for Jake Boakes if you have anything for our DNR Warden Buddy. And then reminder at about 9 o'clock, shortly after 9 o'clock, we'll kick off our Express Summer Series as we, every week, we'll catch up with a member of the Eau Claire Express. And usually it'll be on Mondays, but with it being Memorial Day on Monday, owner Craig Toyson is going to be popping in here this morning to kick off that series as we get set for another summer of Eau Claire Express baseball. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut us off. We'll take our news updates and